Well, because Liberal leader Justin Trudeau declined our interview request, we'll wrap up to the leadership interviews today with Conservative leader Andrew Scheer. Mr. Scheer joins us from Regina. Mr. Scheer, if you were in Trudeau's shoes today, how would you get the Chinese to listen and act to free our detainees and get that trade relation back on track?
Well, it comes down to this. Justin Trudeau has to start standing up for Canada. I would have months ago shown to the Chinese government that there are consequences for violating international rules and violating the fundamental rights of two Canadian citizens. I think that the government of China has learned what Donald Trump learned during the NAFTA negotiations, and that is you can walk all over Justin Trudeau and not face any consequences. I've called on the Prime Minister to pull Canadian funding from the Asian Infrastructure Bank, which is controlled by China and helps expand China's influence in the region, as a very first step, as the least we can do to show to the government in China that you can't treat us like this. He's clearly unwilling to do so. I won't hesitate to.
Some suggest, Mr. Scheer, that we just rip up the extradition request from Meng Wanzhou. I mean, is that something you would consider doing if you become Prime Minister in October?
You know, you just cannot have court processes, criminal court cases, whether they are dealing with corruption and corporate bribery or extradition for the types of things that this Huawei executive is accused of doing. You cannot have political interference in our court processes. And that is something that was so damaging to our relationship with China and our position around the world, when here we have as a country saying to China, look, we let courts and judges figure these things out and make these rulings. At the same time, it comes to light that Justin Trudeau was attempting to interfere with a criminal court case for a company that he was favorable to. So it really hurt our position on the SNC-Lavalin corruption scandal, really hurt our position on the global stage. When on the one hand, we're saying we have a hands-off approach to court proceedings, while at the very same time, there was political interference on the part of Justin Trudeau's office to get a more favorable outcome for SNC-Lavalin.
The campaign's coming fast, and one of the things that's being attached to you is Doug Ford. Do you consider that a problem? Is the Ontario Premier's unpopularity going to rub off on you for the campaign, and what will you do about that?
You know, I think people realize that when you let Liberals govern for too long, you get these types of problems. And people in Ontario know what Kathleen Wynne and Dalton McGuinty did to the financial situation in the province of Ontario. They saw the scandals and corruption provincially. They saw the corrupt energy deals that gave sweetheart contracts to multinational companies and drove up the rates for individuals and families to pay their hydro bill. So my message to the people of Ontario is we have an opportunity to limit that damage to one term with Justin Trudeau. The same people who are running the province of Ontario under Kathleen Wynne and Dalton McGuinty are now in senior positions in Justin Trudeau's government. They're following the same playbook. And we can do federally, we can limit the damage federally to one term this October.
But do you regret, I mean, you pose on a Maclean's magazine cover with Ford and the other premiers and called yourselves the Resistance. Do you regret being that closely aligned with Doug Ford, given all the problems he's encountering right now?
Yeah, I'll work with anybody who wants to fight against the carbon tax and who wants to stand up for our natural resource sector. And if I were worried about who I was affiliated with, I'd be far more worried if I were Justin Trudeau, knowing that I have senior positions in the Prime Minister's office who were architects of Kathleen Wynne's disastrous government. That is the source of the challenges that are facing the people of Ontario right now. So the key decision for voters in Ontario this October is, do we want to allow Justin Trudeau to do for another 4 or 8 years what was done in Ontario that caused this problem in the first place? I believe the people of Ontario don't want to do that, and I'm very optimistic.
But the problem is, Mr. Scheer, he's cutting things like school class sizes, he's cutting paramedics, he's cutting where people consider them essential services and public health, and that. Do you not think he's going about it in a way that taints the Conservative brand? Because that's certainly where Justin Trudeau's Liberals campaign seems to be aimed at.
No, of course. I think Justin Trudeau would love to fight any election on anything other than his record. He's not willing to go door to door or riding to riding to defend his record of failure and corruption. And again, the fundamental point is we saw what happened when Liberals were allowed to govern in Ontario for over a decade. They ran up massive amounts of debt and deficits. They lied about the deficit. They raised taxes. We know that that's coming if Justin Trudeau is reelected. So if the proposition to the people of Ontario is how can we avoid federally what's happening in Ontario, the answer is to vote out the Liberals as early as possible. And that's this October.
Okay. One thing we know for sure is that the first casualty in any war is the truth. And I wonder how you're going to deal with this campaign. Will you take steps to ensure that your campaign messages reflect the truth and to correct errors when they happen? Because I'm sure you expect the Liberals to do that when they attack you with errors.
Well, we've seen the Liberals over the past few months make all kinds of unsubstantiated allegations and attacks. Justin Trudeau, stood in front of reporters in the chamber in the Parliament building and said there are consequences for lying to Canadians. Well, you'll remember he promised to balance the budget in 2019. He said that there was no political interference in the SNC-Lavalin case. We now know that not to be true. So when it comes to which party is sticking to the truth, it's certainly not Justin Trudeau and the Liberals. For our part, of course, we try to, we put a great deal of effort into fact checking and making sure that when we highlight something that the numbers are there to back it up, that we take people's quotes, we say what they actually said. And that's certainly going to be an area that we hold ourselves to a very high account.
One thing on truth that we're wondering, will you put your platform to accosting by the parliamentary budget officer ahead of the campaign?
We're looking at that proposal. This is a new development that the Liberals have introduced. Obviously, we've looked at the work of the parliamentary budget officer in the past. We want to make sure that we accomplish two things. One is that we have the highest degree of confidentiality, so that when we make announcements, that it's not inappropriately leaked or divulged ahead of time. And secondly, that we can show Canadians that there is independent verification of our numbers. So we'll certainly be looking and examining how best to do that. The parliamentary budget officer is one of those options that is under consideration.
One thing I want to clear the air on a number of issues, if I could, and I appreciate keep your answers brief if I could. I just want you to fill in the yes or no to some of these. If you were Prime Minister, would you keep cannabis legal and maintain the blanket pot conviction pardons for simple possession that are being put forward?
Simply, yes. We will maintain the the fact that cannabis is legal. We are not going to change that, and we do support the idea of people having those records pardoned.
Okay, and I think I know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask you one more time. Will you refuse, as Prime Minister, to introduce, and will you block any legislation aimed at limiting a woman's right to an abortion?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I've been very clear on this before. We are not going to reopen this issue. I will not, our Conservative government will not introduce this issue. It's really only the Liberals that are trying to keep talking about this, keep dividing Canadians on this issue.
Oh, I know that. That's why I want clarity on this one. And finally,
thanks
one
for giving me
issue.
the opportunity to do that.
One last issue. We're a partner, as you know, in the Joint Strike Fighter program. So will you commit to going through on the F-35 stealth jet fighter purchase in your first mandate?
It's quite clear that this is the aircraft that our armed forces need, that our Air Force has asked for in the past. I do want to depoliticize procurement. I don't want to have big ticket items constantly subject to reversals after every election. I want to make sure that there is a process that Canadians can have confidence in, but at the end of the day, gets our military something they need. We're now asking our pilots to fly 40-year-old Australian F-18s because this Liberal government has so bungled the procurement process.
Yes. All right, Andrew Scheer, thank you for joining us. We appreciate your time, and we'll talk to you during the campaign. Appreciate it again.
Thanks very much, John.